Well, today let's have a little look at this bench here, which contains robcantleyi, and there are about, I think, 9 plants on this bench, which include the females of the original plants from which pretty much all robcantleyi in cultivation has come from. The probably the most famous of the plants is the one that's known as Queen of Hearts. It's one we've exhibited at flower shows around the world over the years. And it's this one here. And you can see from the stem just how old she is. She's 25 years old. And the stem goes down here, up here, it's all over the place. There's a new flower coming here. So on the Queen of Hearts, we actually have pictures that at this time of year are looking like this and quite flared. And there is a young picture here, newly opened. So that's how they start out, and then they darken. But right next door to it, we've got a seed-grown plant of one of the F1 progeny of Queen of Hearts and the King of Spades. King of Spades is in a different nursery. He's been relegated to a different place because it's a boy, and we keep the boys and girls separately, of course. So this is an offspring, F1, and really very little difference. It's also an old plant, you can see, but I can't see any difference between that picture there really significantly to a picture over here on the original Queen of Hearts. They're not as big as they get at this time of year. We've just been through the monsoon season where there's been very little light. Light levels have increased very dramatically recently. We promised also to show you cultivation tips. We plan to do some structured videos on various growing factors such as potting media, light, humidity, etc. But also we'll be doing some species specific growing tips. So as we're actually here looking at these robcantleyi, there's an issue with leaves over here. There's a leaf which is too young to have died off, and this damage here, that's chemical damage. We'll cover that in another video. So we have our problems with things like that from time to time. It's related to light levels as well. The moss at this time of year isn't looking as luxurious as it often does. It's a little bleached because we've had this massive increase in light levels just a few weeks ago. The monsoon changed and the sun appeared. So the moss has gone a bit white. It'll come back, of course. Discussing cultivation, a lot of people might assume, looking at the plants in our videos, that we grow everything in moss. That's absolutely not the case. We don't grow much in moss at all. And what I've done is dug away some moss here to show you what's underneath. So this is coconut fiber. It's actually a mixture of approximately 50-50, the fine fiber with chips. Let me see if I can find a chip. There's a chip. And frankly, I wouldn't recommend coconut fiber to most growers. Wherever you might live in the world, you can probably buy all sorts of things that we can't get here in Sri Lanka so easily. Perlite, lots of other components of potting media can be bought, whereas we have to actually import everything like that. So we've used the locally available material, which happens to be coconut fiber, as Sri Lanka grows lots and lots of coconuts. And the reason I don't really recommend it, firstly, it does work. We've got lots of awards to attest to the quality of the plants over the years, many medals. But you have to carefully monitor it, adjust the pH and other factors, which we'll probably talk about in more detail in another video. So just wandering around these plants, this is also one of the original plants, the very first ones. You can see again the size of the stem, absolutely huge. And on this plant also there's a young pitcher forming here with the coloration like that, and it later goes much darker and becomes the typical robcantleyi coloration. So this plant has a flower spike. These are all females, and you can see the spike going up here, right up, and up there way above my head. That's at least 8 feet or 2.5 meters above the plant is a female flower or seed developing, and that's in a sort of a plastic cage, as you might have noticed, which is to keep out rats and squirrels. Very occasionally a rat or squirrel will chew the shade cloth and get into this nursery, and they can be very damaging when they do, until plants might catch them, of course. So we protect our precious seeds with a sort of a cage when they're developing. So finally, on this bench over here, there's a lot more interesting things, including some very nice villosa, which we'll show you more of later. More pictures forming all the time on that one plant. And here's some more robcantleyi, lovely trio of pictures. These I think are growing on the same plant. So all seem to have more or less the same form. They're all very similar. All the original plants that we had and all the F1 plants we bred from this. If the conditions are right, they have this dark coloration, and they also have peristomes that don't always roll fully back. Now this is quite a good example. This picture, it's still quite flared, and this one has rolled back about as much as they ever do with this species. And it's cultivational. It's due to the climatic conditions here, really, as to whether the picture develops and remains flared or whether it eventually does roll back. So once they've opened and they're flared, and they've been flared for some time, they'll stay that way, even if the conditions change. But while they're still soft and developing, if the humidity is a bit lower, we find that they tend to roll back. And that's about the maximum limit of the peristome rollback.